Rick, we've got a living television legend on the show today.
We do.
Yes. If you're of a certain age, kind of like our age, you probably hated her character growing up.
Yes.
You didn't hate her.
No.
Well,
she
some
seems
people may have
delightful.
hated her. We'll be back right after this to talk to the notorious Nellie Oleson from Little House on the Prairie.
The following is a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie show on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is the Minutia Men Celebrity Interview with Rick and Dave.
So let's start with the obvious. It's the 50th anniversary of Little House on the Prairie. Alison, what is it like to still be talking about Nellie Oleson 50 years later? 50 years later.
When are people going to get over this?
It's the 51st. We did last year. We were the whole cast. We were booked wall to wall events. It was like I had no weekends off. We just went everywhere, did it all, and we said, "Well, thank God, next year's the 51st. What could possibly happen then?" It's starting all over again. I've got like 17 dates. We're like, oh, good Lord. And all of us, we go to these things, and 18,000 people showed up in Simi Valley over 3 days. It was amazing. But we all kept looking at each other going, show's 50 years ago, right? Right? Am I wrong? Am I hallucinating this? They do know. They know, right? These people weren't born. Half these people weren't born. Why are they here? Yeah.
Well, it's, lives on forever on reruns and everything.
It does.
My wife, she's of the correct age.
There you go.
It was her favorite show. She absolutely loved it. So
we're on, I last count, I think our 6th or 7th generation of viewers.
Wow.
Because you had the original broadcast, and then you had the morning reruns, and then the after-school reruns. Then you had the VHS generation, the DVD generation. Now it's the Netflix streaming generation. And I remember talking to an older woman who said, "Oh, I don't think my granddaughter watches it." She goes, "No, I watch the YouTube videos on my phone."
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
a great point.
Are there any like TikTok profiles devoted to Little House on the Prairie? Do you know?
Oh,
I mean, is there?
My God, is there? There's a whole TikTok world of Little House. I mean, Little House obviously huge on Facebook because that's more like that 40s, 50s demographic. Right. You get huge Facebook pages, huge Facebook groups. In fact, there's multiple groups: fans of Little House New Beginning, Little House this, and they all have like 30,000, 40,000 members. It's off the charts. But TikTok, one of the things I noticed was like in the top like 15 pieces of music to put your little video to, the theme from Little House on the Prairie was in the top 10. Wow. And that was a couple of years ago when I first went on TikTok. I went, I saw this, and I looked, and there were thousands of videos of just these random people doing things, either like running through a meadow in their yard or somewhere, saying da 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 da, and they were all using a Little House theme. I'm like, something is going on. And now, of course, we have the whole cast is on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. Right. We're all on there doing things, and everyone's got a podcast. Pat Laberto's got a podcast. Me and Dean Butler have a podcast. So that's all on TikTok to go. But there's giant fan groups on all the platforms, on Instagram, on TikTok, on everything, just 24/7. Ranting and screaming about Little House.
Wasn't Jason Bateman on that show too?
He sure was.
I mean, he's like the most famous podcaster around now.
And he did give us props on the Emmys. He did say, and I got my start on Little House of the Prairie. So he has indeed given us props for it. So yeah.
Well, Jason has done well, but what about you? Talk to us about Confessions of a Prairie Bitch. We do good. So, God. So what I realized is, like, it wasn't going away. I mean, when the show finished in the 80s, all of a sudden, okay, this is great. Well, we could do other things. It'll be great. We'll get back to real life. No, because, like, it just kept going with the reruns and DVDs. And then it sort of escalated, and I think we're all more famous now than we were in 1975. It's bonkers. So it kept going, and I was doing stand-up for years. I was doing stand-up comedy when I was a teenager. And then when I realized it wasn't going away, some years ago I started a thing called Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, the one-woman show. And people went nuts. Mm-hmm. And still, I just was in Atlanta, still selling out the clubs and people going berserk. I went, okay, well, this is the thing. And then a marvelous literary agent came to my show in New York and said, there a book to go with this? I said, well, there could be. And next thing I know, I've got Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, How I Survived Being Nellie Oleson and Learned to Love Being Hated, the book, which was a New York Times bestseller, which tells you how mad the whole thing is. Well, and I've been
Yeah, working this and touring and doing events and continuing the show ever since.
And that's good advice to all of our listeners. Just be a bitch.
Yeah.
And you got all this success going on.
Play a bitch. That's different. Vanity.
Well, we have a slogan and one of our T-shirts from our podcast is "Beauty is fleeting, but villainy is forever."
That's good merch.
What is the name of the podcast?
Exactly.
What's the name of the podcast? I'm sure we'll talk about it again.
That's the Little House on the Prairie 50th anniversary podcast, and I guess it's now just the After 50 podcast. It just keeps going. But we've got that one going with Dean Butler and Pamela Bob out of New York, and we're hilarious. We've interviewed everybody from the show. We talk about the 1800s and the show and what it all means, and then I have the Alison Arngrim show, which I'm doing later tonight. I do live Tuesday evenings.
Oh, okay. Where's that?
Yeah, and it's just madness. It does not stop. And I was just in Atlanta with the show and had a nice full house there at the Outfront Theater. And you guys, are you guys in Chicago?
Yeah,
Where are you?
Yeah. You're coming. I saw.
I am. I will be there. I literally have to look and go, where in the heck am I? Oh, I'm at Lips, Chicago. I haven't been there yet.
Oh, when is that date?
That is going to be June 12th at 7 p.m. Oh. And I've played Chicago before, very popular there, apparently, who knew? But I'm going to be at Lip Chicago, which is new. It is new. I am new to it. It is also new. It's the Motor Row Show Palace.
Wow.
Whatever the heck that is.
Okay.
It's on South Michigan Avenue. It's the Motor Row Show Palace, and it's now called Lip Chicago. Lots of drag, lots of dancing, but they have comedy night, and I am Confessions of a Prairie Bitch at Lips.
Well, Rick and Dave are going to be there.
We will be.
We will be there
for sure.
We're not going to bring our wives. We'll just
yeah.
Well, no,
it'll be hooped. Come on, bring the wives.
If I didn't bring my wife,
she'd
be very upset.
Would she be
She would kill you. She will kill you. You would have to bring her.
So listen, Vanity Fair has crowned Nellie Oleson TV's #1 bitch.
Congratulations.
Even ahead of Alexis Carrington from Dynasty. Now, what does it take?
It was incredible. It was the all best of issue events, and they had best dads, and they had, of course, Paul Ingalls, and everything. They had best doctors, Chad Everett Medical Center. It was like all those things, and then it just said bitches, Alison Arngrim, and then the rest of the list, Jane Wyman. I'm like, I'm first.
Yes. What does it take? What's the secret? How do you play someone that people love to hate?
You're clearly a lovely person. How did you do this?
It's
seriously.
It's letting all the horrible stuff out of your body. Talk about detoxing. I mean, people would ask my mother when I was a kid doing the show, like, what's she like at home? And she said, well, she's really relaxed. She comes home, it's all out of her system. She chills out, takes a nap. And it's true. It was more letting something out than putting something on. Because people said, was it awful? Did you feel terrible taking on all these terrible thoughts? And they're like, no, it's like, let them out. I got to smash everything in the room, yell, scream, and do all these terrible things I would never do. And it was sort of exhilarating, really, and just really like great therapy. And I have good blood pressure. It's good for you.
Amazing.
Now, fans used to physically attack you, right? I mean, you're a little kid.
Yes.
I mean, how old were you? You were, really.
I was 12 when I started, and people got unhinged. Made the fatal mistake of going out in costume. It was a big Easter fair, and someone at the school, I think somebody's kid, their parents worked at the network, and they were like, wait, no, okay. And so suddenly Catherine McGregor, also a darling person who played the horrid Mrs. Olsen, we get rooked into going to this thing and getting completely in costume and makeup and hair, and we go to this thing, and no one will speak to us. They're all terrified. And Catherine tries to talk to a little girl, and like I said, very sweet woman, very sensitive, and this poor 3-year-old kid just starts screaming and crying, and she's like, I'm making children cry, I want to go home. And I gave up and went and got a hot dog, and these 2 little girls just came up and kicked me in the butt and knocked me to the pavement.
Really?
Hot dog and all, and I was in those petticoats. It was like a turtle. Wow. I couldn't get up. And my dad came and got me, just picked me up and got me another hot dog and said, we're getting the hell out of here.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And he was very dramatic. So he called them and said, she was attacked. Oh, my God, you can't send her out in costume. But I was like, good call on the not costume. Let's not do that again. But then I was in the Christmas parade when I was about 16, and somebody threw a McDonald's cup of orange soda at my face.
Oh, wow. Well, at least that's the non carbonated kind, right? I think the McDonald's orange
it was like, just right, smack a big orange soda in the face. It smelled terrible, and but I was a moving target. I was kind of impressed.
Wow.
I keep thinking one day I'm going to meet the person who did this. They're going to cop to it.
Well, I'm sure they're listening to the podcast right now, and I'm giving a middle finger to them right now.
I had a woman come up to me at an autograph show. And she was like about the right age, she's 40-something, and she comes up to the table, and she's so angry, like smoke is coming out of this woman's ears. She comes up to the table and just looks at me and says, "I forgive you," and walks out.
Wow. That's a great
hello,
one
no
story.
goodbye.
Well, you're forgiven.
I forgive you.
Now, you grew up, surrounded by Hollywood people. Your mom was the voice of Gumby and Casper. Your dad managed Liberace and Debbie Reynolds. Yeah. What was dinner time like at your house?
Was Liberace playing in the piano in the corner while you were eating?
We did go trick-or-treat at his house on Halloween. He was right around the corner.
Really?
My dad was working for Seymour Heller and Associates, and if you remember, like all the movies about Liberace, Seymour Heller, Dan Aykroyd played him in the movie. Seymour Heller, and my dad was vice president of something Western Regional hoo-ha under Seymour Heller. So he said, "Okay, I'll take care of him in Vegas, you take care of him in L.A." And we rented a house around the corner from Liberace's Hollywood Hills house, so in case my dad was like on call, in case Liberace needed something.
Right.
And
a new candelabra, please.
I lost the sequin. Call my sister. So we would go trick-or-treating at his house, which is hysterical. The butler would come with a tray with lovely candy. It's very good. No slouch, that Liberace. They took me to see Liberace's show when I was like 8.
Wow.
It was hysterical, and he was so funny. And I remember just going, what in the world? Because all these grown-ups paying top dollar to see this man. And my parents said, don't say anything because no one must know that Liberace is gay.
Right. That was a really good, well-kept secret.
Yeah, right.
News on the march. Liberace is gay.
I'm like, I'm 8. Yeah. I know he's gay. What the hell? And they're like, no. I'm like, dude is wearing rhinestone hot pants and literally just flew over the stage. No, yeah. I think they're onto him. And they're like, no. But the old ladies, thing is, they didn't care. They were in love with him. And they were like, oh, he's that way, They freaking dug him. They did not care. They did not care what he was, who he was, where he was. He was Liberace, and they worshipped the ground he walked on, and that was that. And he was kind of, like gay Elvis. I mean, he sold out every concert.
Wow.
He was printing money. It was amazing. And that's why the big joke, laughed all the way to the bank. That's the famous cried all the way to the bank is from Liberace. He got a bad review. And he said, yes, I was so upset I cried all the way to the bank.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because the critics would say, oh, my God, this is ridiculous. I mean, and he played very well. But they were like, this is a ridiculous show and all these costumes and ridiculous stuff. And I guess they had Elton John hadn't broken yet or something. And who stole everything from Liberace.
Yeah, he did. He really
Liberace
did.
was standing room only. And he was running. He couldn't get the merch on the table fast enough. People went nuts. They bought every ticket. They bought everything he was selling. He was sold out across the country constantly. He couldn't not sell a ticket. And so people would complain about it, and it's like, dude, the theater's full. Figure it out.
Well, you just mentioned the costume, right? His costume.
Yes.
Your wig, right, on Little House was created by the same person who did the Betty Davis's, right? I mean, because
we had ancient people doing our hair and makeup who were just amazing. I worked with everyone. We had Whitey Allen Snyder, who's Marilyn Monroe's makeup man. Oh, wow. We had Gladys, because she'd worked with Marilyn Monroe, Joan Crawford, Betty Davis, and Faye Dunaway repeatedly. Survived Faye Dunaway, many, many films. And then we had Larry Germain, who his first gig was giving Betty Davis a shampoo and worked with Betty Davis for like centuries. And then Ziggy Geike, wig maker to the stars, who was alive until fairly recently, lived in the late 90s. The Larry and Ziggy constructed and designed the wig on my head. Yes.
Wow.
And it's so iconic. I mean, it's so campy and iconic. That wig is. When I did show prep, it's all. There's 1,000 articles about this wig. Basically,
people are obsessed with the wig, and people say it looks so. Whatever happened to Baby Jane? And then we have the whole episode where Laura pushes me downhill in the wheelchair, and it's totally whatever happened to Baby Jane, but like switch, like Betty's in the chair. And the thing is, we knew that. I mean, Larry would design that wig, and I'd get in the morning, and he'd put the wig on, and then he'd hand me an unlit cigarette and have me go, what a dump. And when we were shooting the whole wheelchair scene, we had all these older crew members, and then Melissa and I stayed up late and watched the old movies on TV. So we were all cracking up, going, oh, my God, look, it's Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Ah, ha, ha, ha. So, yeah, everybody was totally in on the joke.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, you've name dropped a lot of people in your show and in the book, and you know, everyone from RuPaul to Carol Channing, and it seems like you knew every person that ever worked in Hollywood. What is the most jaw-dropping behind-the-scenes Hollywood story that you're finally allowed to tell?
Right, no one's listening to this. This is just Rick and Dave.
We had to wait till they died.
So many. Because it's hysterical. I was sitting having breakfast with Rich Little one day, as you do in his kitchen in Las Vegas. Yeah. And we started talking, and I said, I feel like I'm 100 years old, because Rich Little is, significantly older than I am, and we knew all the same people.
Wow.
It was like, wow, how long have I been? But I think it was because I started so young, and then my parents were older, and they knew all these people, and you start hanging around, you know, Liberace and Debbie Reynolds. You start meeting everybody. And my publicist, Harlan, knows freaking everybody. He's insane, the people he knows. I'm like, how do you even know these people? So I did become friends with Carol Channing. Okay. Lovely woman, love her. Carol Channing is true. Carol Channing will, her thing, she would take her clothes off anywhere. You know, it was the theater. She didn't care who was still in the room when she changed her clothes. Oh. And so that was kind of, I'd seen it before. My husband was a little shocked. We stopped at her and her husband's place on the way to dinner. We're all going out together. And she was like, and then there was the time. And she's just like whipping her blouse off. And he's like, wow. Carol Channing's changing clothes in front of me. Oh my God. Do I need to leave?
Well, leave? No way. I'm getting my phone and taking pictures if I'm in the same room with Carol Channing.
Well, and that was the freaky thing. It's the first time she totally dropped laundry, as it were. And I'm like, Carol Channing is like getting naked. The second thing that blew my mind was, oh my God, was that woman in shape?
Yeah, really? Yeah.
She was in her 80s. She could kick her leg over her head on stage. She would do that. She was in such a, I was like, I saw Carol Channing naked, and you could bounce quarters off her abdomen. It was like, I was looking at Carol. I got to go to the gym. Carol Channing.
Yeah, right.
Is in better shape than I am. Jesus. She was amazing person. But yes, you really talk like that. It was fantastic. Carol Channing was fun to hang out with. Pia Zadora, she was having a bad day. Pia Zadora kind of had a tantrum on the tarmac in an airport. Didn't want me on her plane.
Oh, really?
Wait. Put a pause. What do you mean she didn't want you on the plane?
You mean like on a private...
And why am I on a plane with Pia Zadora to begin with?
Yeah. Yeah, you mean like a private jet, right?
Right, yeah. So Bob Hope, because of course Bob Hope did a bunch of stuff. Bob Hope, it's like I'm 100 freaking years old. Bob Hope met me again through publicist.
Yeah.
My friend Groucho, Bob Hope, and it's just, I was doing stand-up at 15, 16, so publicist, everybody met everybody, and Bob Hope was like, great, you should come to this thing that I'm doing. So Bob Hope's doing a telethon for this tiny, tiny little school for the blind in Texas, and I think a friend of his had a child there. It was some complicated, like, why are we all out here in the middle of nowhere? And he had all these huge stars fly in private jet. The Bing Crosby's family, a bunch of people from soap operas, Pia Zadora, Johnny Yoon, Fred Travalena. Like I said, this whole random, insane selection of celebrities. And I was thrown onto a private jet with a bunch of people. Like, of course I am. So I went and did stand up in the middle of the night in front of Bob Hope at 15. Like, no pressure at all. Me and Fred Travalena did impressions of like Jimmy Carter and Amy Carter at like 2 a.m. for fun, live on TV. Just whacked out things are happening. And Pia Zadora, just like, oh my God, Pia Zadora. And girl can sing. So she's doing her thing. But on the way back, it was her and her husband's jet. They were scrambling for jets. There was like musical chairs. They're just heavens to Betsy. Talk about first world problems. There weren't enough seats on the private jets to go around. So, everyone was trying to, and I had to get back because I had another gig. Like I said, I'm the hardest working woman in show business. There's always another gig. 15, I'm like, I got to get back. I got a gig. So someone said, well, come on Pia's jet. I was going to take Pia's jet back, but I'll take the Crosby jet back later because you need to get back for the gig to get on Pia and hubby's jet. And Pia wanted her friend on the jet and not me, and did kind of have a temper tantrum.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, that's
but it didn't last. And she wasn't mean to me about it. She freaked out, but then she was like, okay, fine. And then, it was fine. But Johnny Yoon and Fred Travelina got on with it. So we had a lovely time. And her husband made everybody lunch. And it was,
What was for lunch?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I remember. I was just so amazed somebody was cooking on a plane in front of me. I was like, what's happening?
So,
now, that was a great weekend. I have a Jerry Lee Lewis story.
Oh, absolutely. I almost interrupted that. Go, please.
Because everyone was at the stupid telethon. So, as weird as the lineup was already at the telethon, more people kept showing up. Now, I don't know how they got hold of them. Like, anybody had cell phones. I don't know what they were doing. But people who were on tour buses going across Texas and the Midwest got word that this was happening while they were heading to the next gig and went, hey, you want to swing by and go do a set on the Bob Hope Telethon in the middle of nowhere? Sure. So all these insanely famous bands and country artists and stuff just start appearing at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning out of nowhere. And their tour buses pull up. We're like, sure, okay. And as I said, I'm 15, and I find out that Jerry Lee Lewis, the killer, is in the house. He is in the building. And I'm like, not really thinking this through, but I'm like, I want to meet Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yeah. And how old were you? And you were married
16,
for how
not
long?
Thinking it through. And I'm like, but it's Jerry Lee Lewis. I loved old rock and roll and rock and roll. Frickin' Jerry Lee Lewis is here. So I go tear-assing to go backstage to go meet Jerry Lee Lewis. And blocking the hall, sitting in a chair, is Jimmy Dean, who we mostly know for Sausage.
Yeah. And also
the
Big John,
sandwiches.
Right? Big Bad John.
Big John. And he was a huge singer. He had a huge career. He was also in one of my favorite Bond movies. He was in Diamonds Are Forever.
Oh, I didn't
He played the big hotel owner that gets kidnapped. He was fabulous. So he had huge film career, huge singing career, Big John. Yeah, and now I regularly get the little English muffins with the turkey sausage and the eggs. It's great. So Jimmy Dean himself.
Oh my God, I do too. Oh my God, we get that all the time. They're fantastic.
We love Jimmy Dean. So Jimmy Dean is sitting there guarding the hallway in a little folding chair, and I go, "Oh my God, it's Jimmy Dean." Well, hell, he knows him. He knows everybody back here. So I go, "Hey, Mr. Jim, I want to meet Jerry Lee Lewis." And Jimmy Dean looks at me and says, "Honey, Jerry Lee couldn't find his ass right now if every finger was a flashlight." He is so drunk. And so I said, okay. And then he says, and it will be a frosty Friday in hell when I take a blonde, blue-eyed 15-year-old girl to Jerry Lee Lewis's dressing room at 3 o'clock in the goddamn morning. Get out of this hallway and go find your daddy.
Well, that is a great story. I have a Jerry Lee Lewis story that you're going to like.
Oh, my God, yes.
This involves Michael Landon.
Oh my God! Okay, great.
So this really ties in perfectly. I worked with a guy named Dick Biondi who used to do these sock hops with rock stars in the 50s. And for a brief moment in time, Michael Landon they tried to make him into a pop star, like a teen idol.
He was on Hullabaloo. He was on Hullabaloo, and he sang and did Yes, he was the man.
And so he was booked to do a sock hop with Jerry Lee Lewis and Michael Landon. And Jerry Lee Lewis got there and found out that he was opening for Michael Landon. And he had a complete shit fit in backstage. Yeah. And he went up and he did like this unbelievable show. Biondi told me that he was like playing the piano with his feet and, like great balls on fire. And he did like this great, huge finale where he jumped up and like set something on fire, and then he ran off stage and saw Michael Landon. And this is not a cool quote, but this is apparently what he said. Jerry Lee Lewis walked right up to Michael and said, "Top that, Jew boy."
Oh, ouch! And
that is a true story.
I have that sounds 100% plausible and believable.
Yeah.
That is absolutely the kind of thing that went on in the day that Jerry Lewis would say. Michael had many stories about people saying stuff like that to him. So, yeah.
Well, weren't a lot of Jews in Hollywood, so that's probably what it was, right?
So, tell us a little.
Michael's favorite thing to do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Michael was fluent in both Hebrew and Yiddish.
Okay.
And his favorite thing to do was to suddenly like launch into Yiddish in things when we're doing like the church scenes. And he would be setting up the shot and telling, Reverend Alden Dabbs, okay, we're going to come in this way. We want you here at the podium here. And he'd be doing the lighting. So he's up there in the pulpit, and he would just start doing, like, the Kaddish, the whole, like, Hebrew, like, Bar Mitzvah prayer.
That's hilarious.
But one of his things he used to do, he was in a car, and he told this story 100 years ago. He's in a car with a bunch of guys, and they're telling jokes. And, of course, there probably wasn't a racial group left on the planet they didn't insult. It was that era, and they're saying horrible things. And, of course, they're doing Jew jokes. They're going, two Jews, walk the bar. And after they've done 37 Jew jokes, Michael just sits there, have no clue. And finally says, I got a great Jew joke. And they go, awesome. And he immediately starts telling a joke in Yiddish.
Oh, that's great.
That shut everybody else, right?
Freeze. They absolutely freeze. Go, and he's like, what? You don't know this one? And just like tortured them. Yeah.
And he sounded like Jackie Mason when he was doing that, too. Right?
So what was,
he was a scream, an absolute scream. I love the Jerry Lee Lewis versus Michael Landon story. That is epic.
Thank
That's
you.
Great.
What was Michael like? I mean, you gave us a little bit. I mean, what about your cast? We haven't really taled about the show, really.
I know. We should get back to the show.
Well,
yes.
Yeah. You're going to be on for the next 4 hours. Yeah. That's cool. Right?
Yeah, clearly.
You don't have anything else to do you?
He was amazing. He was amazing. It was so funny. One of the funniest people I ever worked with. Michael was brilliant. And as I always tell people, I mean, I talk about my act, but it's true. He was starring in the show. He was writing the show. He's directing the show. He's the executive producer. He's overseeing the entire production. I mean, he's in today's world, he would have been called the showrunner.
Right.
And he was just doing freaking everything. And so it was his baby, and he was doing it. So he was extremely brilliant. When you look at the really great episodes, and we were talking about this on my podcast the other day, that even some of the episodes is written by Don Ballack. And he was saying, right. We had a guy who was in the writer's room on Little House on the show, and he said, it was written by Don Ballack. And then they had a meeting with Michael and some of the guys and rewrote the whole thing. Yeah. So Don still had credit, but that whole second plot about the thing, as Michael said, no, it needs some growth, that whole thing. And the reason we only had like 2 other directors, he let William Claxton direct and he let Victor French direct. And the first season we had 1 or 2 guest directors, and that went out the window because, at least with Claxton and Victor, if Michael said, I want to direct this scene, I want to have this shot I had in mind, they would let him do it. And most other people would not.
Yeah.
So he was kind of doing everything. And so he was the mad genius of the Prairie. He was truly brilliant because, we know he was married 3 times, and he drank and he smoked, as everyone freaking did in 1974.
Right.
And he was very wild and crazy. But when he turned it on, and we had an episode where people needed to cry, and we had a thing, and he suddenly was this wonderful father, Charles Ingalls, and he would weep on camera, and he'd have all the other actors crying, and he would make that thing go. And he watched the dailies every day. He oversaw the editing. He worked with David Rose on the music. And he knew what the hell he was doing. And when he worked with the cast, generally, there's a few cast members going, he's a mouth on him. But we kids, he was so good to us kids and absolutely very strict about our hours and how much schooling we got, the 3-hour school and the 4 hours work. And, we joke about the fat cast of Little House, no arrests, no convictions. We're very proud. Yeah. You don't see kids who grew up on Little House on TMZ with no pants. We're just not there. Generally, people from Little House on the Prairie have their act together 100 years later because it was that kind of environment. It was, you were there to work, and we were treated really with a level of respect that most child actors don't get. You might get patted on the head and treated nicely on a show, or generally treated horribly, which happened a lot to people. But we were not only treated nicely, we were treated as real actors and with a level of respect. We were expected to deliver. So there was this whole level of accountability, and that's why you see people who were kid actors on Little House all seem to still have most of their marbles.
This is phenomenal. Before we go, tell us again your schedule when you're coming to show. Do you have your dates where you're going?
I am everywhere. I just got back from. I was so not.
Plug absolutely everything. Plug your book, your podcast, whatever. You got a cooking show. I don't know, recipes, whatever.
Right, I do. Oh, I do that too. I have cooking videos. There's a whole Who Wants to Do the Cooking channel on YouTube. I cook. I'm working on a cookbook. So I just finished Atlanta in France, 9 sold-out shows in France. I'm at the Cherry Blossom Festival in Marshfield, Missouri, April 24th through 26th. I am at the Cutting Room in New York City on Mother's Day, May 11th. I always do the Mother's Day show. I'll be at the Cutting Room in New York. I am at Club Play in Nashville on the 15th, Club Play in Louisville, May 16th, May 15th, May 16th, Nashville, then Louisville. Then I'm at Pasadena Comic Con on May 24th. Who knew? Just craziness. Then this is the biggie. The cast of Little House, a whole pile of us are going to Columbia, California. We did a big reunion last year in Simi, which is where we shot the outdoor scenes. So that was huge, 18,000 people. We're now going to the other location. We would go up to Sonora, like when Laura ran away from home and apparently crossed 3 states and found a mountain where she meets the angel who is apparently Ernest Borgnine is God. It was a very strange episode. That one and the camp, all that was done up in Northern California, up near Columbia. We're going there. We're going to California's Gold Country, Columbia State Park, June. It's first week of June, 6 or 8, and we're like 12 people are coming from the show. Everybody, Baby Carrie's coming, Malmanzo's coming. We're all going.
Awesome.
And so, like, the VIP passes, like, sold out the first day, but there's still tickets available, and it's going to be huge. There's going to be meet and greets and breakfasts and lunches and things, and it's this huge epic thing in Northern California, June 6th or 8th with cast. And then I'm at Chicago, Lip Chicago, and that is June 12th, Lip Chicago. And I will be doing Confessions of Prairie Bitch. It is R-rated. Somebody brought kids to the show in Atlanta, and I'm like, oh, girl, do you know what you've gotten yourself into?
It's
I'm
right
not
in the title.
NC-17. It's not like horrible, but it is R. It's like for grown-ups.
That's okay.
It's for grown-ups.
Nice.
Then I'm at Lip San Diego in June. Then I'm at the Red Room in P-Town in July. And it kind of goes on and on like that. But, I'm all over Facebook and websites and things. And there you are. I'm everywhere.
Well, we are going to see you in June.
Yes, we're going to come to the show.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Do you need to become obsessed? Shall I place you on the list?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. We'll talk. We'll talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
good. I'm going comp for lips. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Also, going to make sure you're getting the Nellie newsletter that comes out every month and tells you where I am.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And they can sign up. They can sign up for that on your website.
They can go to bonnetheads.com. Yeah, seriously. And then I'm on Facebook and everything else. Yes.
Okay.
This has been phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you
This
very
has been
much.
fantastic. You're the best.
Yeah, you've got a lot of energy.
Right.
Both of us need to take a nap now. But thank you.
Well, we're older than you are.
This is what I do. I'm just insane like this. I'm doing laundry at the same time. I'm multitasking.
Okay, well, there you go. Alison, Arngrim.
And if you ever need me to record, like, your outgoing message, we were talking about my voice, I actually have done that. People say, I don't like my voice. So I've recorded people's outgoing messages at their work. You've reached the office of John Smith. John's not available to take your call. Please leave your message after the beep.
Are you on Cameo?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay.
So there's another
I'm on
place.
Cameo.
Yes, there's another place.
Also, if you go to Spin Cycle NYC, SPIN, like it sounds, spincyclenyc.com, they have all the dates of confessions, so you can go there.
Okay.
Well, we wish you nothing but the best. You've just been wonderful.
Thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And we will have a whole slew of Jew jokes that we're going to tell you in June when we see you.
Bring them.
Thanks, Alison.
Hey, we really appreciate
it. Thank you.
Have a good one.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. There she goes.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
What a nice
The Confessions of a Prairie Bitch.
Right. And she did not seem like a prairie bitch at all, did she?
Do you remember when we came up with money-making ideas right out of college?
Right. Yours was that you were going to do voice messages for $5.
Yeah. See? That's what she's doing. That's what she's doing.
How many of those voice messages did you do for $5?
I did none. But it was an idea. Your idea was selling black socks on Michigan Avenue.
For people that didn't have them for their interviews. So I'm the asshole. And
we have come a long way.
And you're Lee Iacocca.
All right. Well, we have people to thank for this show.
Brandon Herman, thank you for landing us
Yes.
This is fantastic.
Without question. I couldn't have done it without you. Thanks to Tony Lasano with Opie Productions, the executive producer of the show.
And Ed Silla, thanks for distributing it, buddy.
Yes, with Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Great Talk Radio isn't dead. It just moved to another place, RadioMisfits.com.
I love the Michael Landon, Jerry Lee Lewis. It's just hilarious.
Yeah, that's a totally true story. Unless Dick Biondi made it up.
No.
But, why would he?
No, of course.
But we'll be back again soon.
Whenever.
Yeah, soon.
Yeah, whatever.
Soon.
Yeah. ASAP.
With another episode of
Minutia Man Celebrity Interview.
The proceeding was a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Find our other great shows on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at RadioMisfits.com. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?